It is phenomenal how much Trump has been delivering on his promises and how the world is turning around. But the globalists are hell-bent on stopping the American and global recovery. They admit, from Juncker at the EU to Bill Maher on HBO, that they want to crash the U.S. economy to teach Trump supporters a lesson. Talk about Hitlerian. This is unbelievable, the period of history we're in. Well, I remember back when the president got in, and then there was a Supreme Court vacancy. I remember that it was in the news some that Andrew Napolitano was in the running. But then later I learned from inside sources, not just Roger Stone, that Trump used a big computer program and worked with some big study groups to look at who had the most conservative federal voting record, because he promised to go with the most conservative judge. And some of his experts argued, well, that's not Napolitano because he was a state judge. Yes, he's very conservative on air. Yes, he's a very smart guy. But we're talking about federal judges up front right now. Wouldn't it be best to go with a federal judge first? And that he said, okay, I'll do that. So I can technically say I've appointed the most conservative person on the bench currently who has a bigger, longer record. But my good friend, Andrew Napolitano, he is going to be at the front of the running on the next round. In fact, it was more specific than that. I asked Roger at the time if that was accurate. He's very close friends with Napolitano. He said they're best friends. And he told me some stuff. Now, the day before I went on air, even though I thought Roger was on a plane, he was just getting on one, I called Roger to see if I could say what I was told from the other sources, even though they didn't tell me this in confidence. In fact, I talked to another individual that talked to Napolitano, and I'm going to leave it at that. And he said, yes, indeed, I was told that. But then there's the different angles of, we don't want to box the president in, saying that Napolitano is who he said will be his next nominee, but that's what he was told. Now, does that mean he's in the pole position in first place? Because if you start off in first place, there's kind of this metaphysical thing where it's easy to fall back if you're seen as starting in first place. So let's just say he is at the very front of the pack here, and I think the very best person for a lot of reasons. His cell phone's about to die. He's going to get home and join us via Skype in about an hour. But Roger Stone, flesh this out for folks as best we can. We're giving people a world exclusive here. A lot of this is inside baseball. I was not told this in confidence, but I still called you and brought up my sources, and because you had told me similar things and said, do you think we should roll this out?
You know, Alex, everything you just said is absolutely accurate. We know that Judge Napolitano is a personal favorite of the president. The president describes him as the one judge who makes federal law understandable and the Constitution understandable. The argument against him in the previous round was that he was a state judge. By the way, Felix Frankfurter was a state judge. That is really of no consequence. The president did feel in the first round that he had to go with a list that had been recommended by the Federalist Society. Napolitano was not on that list, although he certainly could have been based on qualifications. Having now fulfilled that commitment, I don't believe the president, or I don't know, but I'm not sure the president will feel that he must select from that list again, particularly as long as his nominee is a solid conservative. I think Napolitano is very, very much in the hunt. I think he was the president's emotional choice for the previous nomination, and it would be a great statement because the judge is a great conservative, but he's also a great libertarian, very much pro-freedom. So I'm optimistic. I think that the left will deride him as a Fox talking head, but he is, by any measure, brilliant, and I know he has the high regard of the president.
I don't want to get into too much of the inside details, but just specifically, he's at the top of the list this round. Judge Andrew Napolitano is currently at the top of the list. How do we make sure he stays at the top and gets in there despite the leftist globalist bullying? You know, anybody that's really good, that's who they're going to fight, just like they fought Trump getting into office.
Well, if you're a believer, as I am, that Andrew Napolitano would be a great Supreme Court justice, you should reach out for the president. You can call the White House switchboard where they're set up to take messages from the American people, 456-1414, 202-456-1414. Flooding the White House switchboard with supportive calls would be very helpful. Keep it short, keep it respectful, keep it real. We're not talking about manufacturing calls. We're talking about individual info warriors calling in to let the president know how they feel.